So, very good afternoon to all the participants. In this session, I'll be discussing symmetric cryptography, and in particular, I'll be discussing AES symmetric cryptography algorithm. So, first of all, let's understand what is cryptography. Cryptography is the science of communication over untrusted communication channels. In other words, it is the study and implementation of techniques for secure communication in the presence of attackers. So, cryptographic algorithms and tools encompasses four major areas: symmetric cryptography, asymmetric cryptography, data integrity algorithms, and authentication protocols. In this session, I'll be focusing on symmetric cryptography or symmetric encryption. So let's understand what is actually encryption. Encryption is converting original message into a form that is unreadable by unauthorized individuals. And decryption is converting that unreadable message or the coded message back into the original message. So let's see how does it work. An ordinary message, also known as the plain text, is given as input to encryption algorithm, which gives scrambled message as the output. The scrambled message is also known as ciphertext, and this processing is done at sender's end. At the receiver end, a matching decryption algorithm is applied to recover the plain text from the ciphertext. But usually these algorithms are made public. That means these algorithms are known to everybody. So now where is the security? If everybody knows the algorithm, then anybody can take the ciphertext and decrypt that ciphertext to get the plain text. So there is an additional piece of data called the key, which is given as input to the encryption algorithm and the decryption algorithm. Using the key only, we can convert the plain text into ciphertext, and at the receiver end, using the key, we can convert the ciphertext into the plain text. So this key is kept secret between sender and receiver. So maybe algorithms are known to everybody, but the person who is having access to the key can only encrypt or decrypt the text. So basically two types of cryptography algorithms are available: secret key or symmetric cryptography, public key or asymmetric cryptography. In case of symmetric cryptography algorithms, both the sender and recipient share a common key for performing encryption and decryption operations. That means same key is used for encryption and decryption operations. All classical encryption algorithms, that means old encryption algorithms, were based on symmetric cryptography, and it was the only type known prior to invention of public key algorithms in 1970s. Public key cryptographic algorithms use different keys for encryption and decryption operations. One key is made public while the other key is kept secret, which is known as private key. So let's go into the details of each type. Symmetric cryptography. So at the sender end, sender will supply or give input plain text and the secret key as the input to the encryption algorithm. And this algorithm will give output ciphertext. This ciphertext is transmitted over the untrusted communication channel. So this ciphertext is unreadable by unauthorized persons. When it is received by the receiver, receiver gives the ciphertext and the same shared secret key as input to the decryption algorithm and recovers the plain text. So here you can see that they are using the same secret key for performing encryption and decryption. In case of asymmetric cryptography, at the sender end, sender gives input to the encryption algorithm, the plain text, and the public key of receiver. Note down public key of receiver. And this encryption algorithm produces output ciphertext, which is transmitted over the communication channel. When receiver gets the ciphertext, it gives input ciphertext and its own private key to the decryption algorithm and gets the plain text. So in this case, whosoever wants to communicate with a person, he should be knowing the public key of that person. So that means sender always uses the public key of receiver to transmit the data for performing encryption, and decryption, for decryption purpose, receiver uses its own private key. Public key is known to everybody, so receiver has to publicly announce its public key to all the other persons to whom it wants to communicate, and it keeps its private key secret with itself. So in practice, cryptographic systems use both secret key, that is symmetric key, and asymmetric cryptographic algorithms together. Secret key algorithms or symmetric key algorithms are usually faster, so it is more efficient to use symmetric algorithms to encrypt the actual data, and the key which is to be transmitted for this secret key algorithm, that is actually transmitted using asymmetric cryptographic algorithm. That means before transmitting actual data, we need to transfer the key using asymmetric cryptographic algorithm, and after the key is received by the receiver, sender will use that key to transmit the actual data using symmetric algorithms. At the receiver end, he first decrypts the secret key using public key algorithm and then decrypts the data using that newly decrypted key. Now, what if an attacker tries to guess the key so that he can break the coded message? That means he'll keep on trying all possible keys to get the plain text from the ciphertext without actually knowing the key. So this is known as cryptanalysis or code breaking. So the study of principles, methods of obtaining original message from encrypted message without knowing the key is known as cryptanalysis or code breaking. So there are two general approaches. One is brute force attack and another is cryptanalytic attack. So in case of brute force attack, the sender tries all possible keys to decrypt a message. On an average, half of the keys are sufficient to achieve success. In case of cryptanalytic attack, it relies on the nature of the algorithm. Means attacker will try to find any loophole in the algorithm using which it can recover the plain text from the ciphertext, or it can deduce the key which is used to convert the plain text into ciphertext. Plus, he may use some knowledge of the general plain text or even some simple plain text ciphertext pairs. So, what do you mean? What it means by knowledge of the general characteristics of the plain text? Like there is a characteristic of English language that in case of English language, frequency of some characters, some alphabets is more than other alphabets. Like the alphabet E is having greater frequency than any other alphabet. So it has been found by some kind of research. So if somebody finds that some letter has been replaced by E, so it will be having the same frequency as the letter E in that particular plain text. So he can easily guess, like let's say E has been replaced by F. So if F is having maximum frequency over all the other alphabets, so the hacker can guess that this must be E in the plain text. And similar kind of frequency table is available for all other alphabets, using which he can gradually guess the plain text letters. So this is how, by using the knowledge of the general characteristics of plain text, the attacker can perform this kind of attack. So if either of the attack is possible, or the attacker is successful in performing any of these attacks, all the past and future keys can be compromised. So researchers have suggested two requirements for secure use of the symmetric encryption. One is strong encryption algorithm, and second is key should be kept secret between sender and receiver. So mathematically, encryption and decryption can be defined using a pair of functions, where E is encryption, where E is representing a function for encryption which takes key and the plain text as the input and gives ciphertext as the output. D is depicting a decryption function which takes key as the input and ciphertext as the input and produces plain text X as the output. So assuming encryption algorithm is known to everybody, so we can think that it will remain secure only if the key is distributed securely. Cryptographic systems can be categorized based on number of keys used, which we have already seen. So based on number of keys, we have two cryptographic techniques. One is private key cryptography or symmetric cryptography. Another is public key cryptography or asymmetric cryptography. Based on type of encryption operations used. So there could be operation of substitution, transposition, or combination of them. So all classical encryption algorithms either used substitution operation or transposition operation. So what is substitution operation? Substitution operation is that the each element of plain text will be replaced or substituted by some other element. Like we are going to replace A in the plain text with D. We can replace F in the plain text with G, and so on. So there could be some criteria for replacement as well. In case of transposition cryptographic algorithms, the idea is to rearrange the elements of the plain text. That means we are going to perform permutations on the elements of the plain text. But researchers have proved that if we alone use substitution in an algorithm or transposition in a cryptographic algorithm for performing encryption, they are vulnerable to security. So they can easily be broken. So the idea which has been followed in modern cipher technique is to use product systems. It uses multiple stages of substitution and transposition. So that is the idea which is used in latest cryptographic algorithms, and AES, which we are going to study, it uses the same technique. Another way to classify the cryptographic algorithm is the way in which plain text is processed. That means at a time, we are going to convert a block of plain text into ciphertext, or we are going to convert the 1 bit or 1 byte of plain text into ciphertext. So block is actually a group of bytes. So that could be 8 bytes, that could be 16 bytes. So that means these kinds of algorithms are going to take 8 bytes of plain text and convert it into 8 bytes of ciphertext. Or as the case of AES, it takes 16 bytes of plain text and converts it into 16 bytes of ciphertext at a time. In case of stream ciphers, such as RC4 stream cipher, it takes 1 byte of plain text and converts it into 1 byte of ciphertext. And so on, it keeps on proceeding for further bytes. So what is AES? AES, or Advanced Encryption Standard, is a symmetric block cipher chosen by the US government to protect sensitive information. It can be implemented in software as well as hardware to encrypt the data. So how does it evolve? In 1997, NIST USA issued a call for a new advanced encryption standard which should provide better security and efficiency than existing algorithms. In addition, it must be a symmetric block cipher with a plain text block of length 128 bits and support for key length of 128, 192 or 256 bits. So in the first round of evaluation, 15 algorithms were accepted, and further in second round, 5 candidates were shortlisted. Finally, Rigendale was selected as the AES in October 2000 and issued as FIPS Pub 197 standard in November 2001. The algorithm was designed by two Belgian cryptographers, John Diamond and Vincent Ridgman. It allows you to choose a 128-bit, 192-bit or 256-bit key, making it exponentially stronger than the 56-bit key of DES, which was the algorithm, which was the symmetric cryptographic algorithm quite popular before the evolution of AES. So it is designed to have resistance against all the attacks which were possible on DES. It is having low memory requirements and simple implementation. AES is widely used in banking, defense, emails, online examinations, online payments. So wherever we require the secure transmission of messages, we can use AES. Even WhatsApp also uses AES for secure transmission of messages. So AES 256 is used by WhatsApp 256 means the key size it is going to use is of 256 bits. So it uses it to provide end-to-end encryption. End-to-end encryption means the data will be encrypted at the end node and it remains encrypted till it reaches the receiver end. Means in between hops will not be able to decrypt the data. So in this case, header, routing information, etc. will remain unencrypted when the message is transmitted from sender to receiver. So messages are not only encrypted in transit but also when stored. Only the communicating users can read the messages. Third party and even WhatsApp cannot read the messages. It is always activated. There is no way to turn off this end-to-end encryption. So AES takes as input plain text of 128 bits and secret key may be of size 128, 192 or 256 bits, that is to be agreed between sender and receiver, and it gives output of 128 bits of ciphertext. So let's see the AES encryption process step by step. So it takes plain text of 128 bits, that is 16 bytes. Firstly, it will be arranged into a state array, which is nothing but a matrix of 4 into 4 size. Then it will go through initial transformation phase. After that, it will go through multiple rounds, where each round consists of 4 transformations. 4 transformation means each round is going to perform 4 operations, except the last round, which is having 3 operations. So after going through all these rounds, it will come into the final state, which is actually your ciphertext of 16 bytes. On the other side, you can see that the key will also go through key expansion process to produce keys for each round. Let's say we have been given input of 128 bit of key, but we'll be requiring 11 such keys if we are having 10 rounds, because each round requires a key. As you can see over here, each round is requiring a key. So there are 10 rounds, means we'll be requiring 10 keys for these 10 rounds and 1 key for initial transformation phase. So total 11 keys will be required for the whole algorithm. So that means we have to transform the initial key in such a way that 11 keys could be produced. So this transformation is known as key expansion. So here you can see that if the key length is 16 bytes or 128 bits, then you have to use 10 rounds. If the key length is 24 bytes, then the number of rounds will be 12. And if the key length is 32 bytes, then the number of rounds will be 14. So that means number of rounds will depend upon the key length used in the algorithm. So let's go into the detail of each step. So the very first step is to convert the plain text into a state array. State array is just a 4 into 4 matrix which will represent the state of the plain text after performing each operation. So the plain text is arranged into this 4 into 4 matrix in the column wise format. So A0 is the first byte of the plain text, A1 is the second byte of the plain text, and so on. So as you can see over here that the bytes are placed in this matrix in the column wise format. This is known as state array or state matrix. So 16 bytes are there in the plain text, and this matrix is also having 16 cells. So you just have to place each byte in one of the cells, and that should be placed in sequence of column wise format. So we were discussing that each round goes through 4 operations except the last round. So these are the 4 operations that each round will undergo: byte substitution operation, shift rows, mix columns, and add round key. The first step was initial transformation. It uses only add round key operation. And the last round goes through 3 operations out of these 4 operations. That means one out of these 4 operations is skipped, and that is mixed column operation. So that means last round is going to perform all operations except the mixed column operation. It will be more clear through this figure. First of all, initial transformation operation, that is add round key operation. Then round 1, which is consisting of 4 operations: byte substitution, shift rows, mix columns, and add round key. So these operations are going to be repeated with each round. So if there are 10 rounds, means these operations are going to be repeated 10 times, except the mix column, which will not be performed in the last round. So you can see over here that the last round is having only 3 operations. So it is not having mixed column layer. So if we analyze the logic behind these 4 operations, we will realize that these operations can be categorized into layers of substitution, permutation, and linear transformation. As we have discussed initially, that AES is based on a product system which is actually consisting of multiple stages of substitution and transposition. So is the case here, that we have seen that it performs mainly 4 operations. So how can these operations be shown as substitution and permutation layers? So let's see over here. Byte substitution operation actually creates the substitution layer, or we can say it provides confusion. Shift rows and mix column operation creates transposition layer, means they are actually contributing to transposition, which promotes diffusion. So I'm discussing 2 new words over here: confusion and diffusion. So I'll be coming to these words. What are these terms? So the add round key is actually linear transformation operation, because it is actually going to perform XOR over the round key and the state matrix. So we have 3 layers in AES: substitution layer, permutation layer, and linear transformation layer. So byte substitution creates substitution layer. Shift rows and mix column operation creates permutation layer, add round key contributes to linear transformation layer. So this substitution layer promotes confusion. This permutation layer promotes diffusion. So for your information, confusion and diffusion are the cornerstone of any modern block cipher design, where confusion attempts to make the relationship between ciphertext and key as complex as possible so that key cannot be deduced from ciphertext. If somebody is having access to ciphertext, a lot of ciphertext, he cannot deduce the key from that ciphertext. Diffusion attempts to make relationship between plain text and ciphertext as complex as possible, again to prevent discovery of key. So even if somebody is having pairs of ciphertext and plain text, he should not be able to discover key from those pairs. So we want to avoid these types of attacks, these types of deductions of key. So that's why we have induced substitution and permutation layers in AES. So now let's come to each operation one by one. Byte substitution is implemented as a table lookup operation. So that means we are going to take each byte from state matrix and we are going to replace that byte with the corresponding entry in the SBox table. So let's take an example, then it will be more clear. So let's say 4B is the first byte of the state matrix, input matrix you can say. So how we are going to replace this 4B by looking into the SBox table. So this is your SBox table. So 4B. So that means you have to look into the 4th row and you have to look into the 5th column, and the point of the intersection is actually your answer. So the point of intersection is displaying this cell which is having value B3. That means we have to replace 4B by B3. Let's take another example. Let's say we want to replace 7A. So you have to go to 7th row and look into the 8th column. Their point of intersection is showing the value GA. That means you have to replace 7A with GA. So this is how byte substitution operation is performed. You have to replace every byte of the input matrix in this way. So all the 16 bytes will be replaced with some new bytes as per their corresponding entry in the SBox table. So this is known as SBox table. So this kind of substitution lowers the correlation between input and output. Here output cannot be described as a simple mathematical function of the input. Means there is no simple function so that you are given an input and applying that particular function, you will be getting the output. So there are no fixed points. That means if a particular byte is 4B and you look into the SBox table and the output will also be 4B. This is not going to occur. Even the complement of 4B you will not get by looking into the SBox table. Means any byte you take and you find its corresponding entry into the SBox table, that will not be same as the input byte. That will not be complement of the input byte. Moreover, SBox table is not same as inverse SBox table. Inverse SBox table we are going to use in decryption. So here we have written substitute byte A, which is used in encryption, and substitute byte inverse A means in this particular operation we'll be using inverse SBox table instead of SBox table. So they are not same. That means given an input to SBox table, whatever output we are getting, that will not never be same in inverse SBox table. We will never get B3 as a replacement of 4B in inverse SBox table. It is totally different. Next operation is shift rows operation. Shift rows operation is based on the idea that we are going to perform circular left shift of rows. So in this case, except the first row where no shifts are being performed, all the rows perform circular left shift. In case of row 1, 1 byte circular left shift is performed, whereas in case of row 2 and row 3, 2 byte and 3 byte circular left shifts are performed. Let's take an example. As you can see here, first byte is copied as it is over here, whereas in case of second row, the first byte is moved to its circular left. That means it will come to the last position. So F2 is moved to the last position. This is how circular left shift is performed. Other bytes will just shifted one position back. In this way, F2, this F2 will come in first column, 63 will come to second column, and 26 will come to third column. In case of third row, each byte is moved to 2 position back. So that means this 7D, which is in third column, it will be moved to first column. And these 2 entries will be moved back. That means they will come to the end of this row. And the last row, in the last row, each entry is moved to 3 position back. So as we are performing circular left shift in case of shift row operation in encryption, we are going to perform inverse of this operation in case of decryption. So that means we will be performing circular right shift with the similar number of positions in case of decryption. So as we have performed 2 byte left shift in case of third row, so when we are going to perform decryption, we are going to perform circular right shift by 2 bytes. So this is how shift rows operation is performed. Third operation is mixed column operation, where we are actually going to multiply the state matrix with a constant matrix. So this is your input matrix or state matrix. We'll call it as state matrix because input matrix has transformed its state, has changed its state. So this state matrix we are going to multiply with this constant matrix. So always we have to multiply the state matrix with the given constant matrix in this mixed column operation. Each byte is going to be replaced by a value that is dependent on all 4 bytes in the column. So what it means, let's see with an example. This is your constant matrix, this is your state matrix for an example, and this is the output which you are going to get after multiplying these 2 matrices. So what I mean to say is that 47 is achieved by applying a function, that is matrix multiplication. So that will be that we are going to get by multiplying this row with this column. So that means a single byte of output matrix will depend upon 4 bytes of the same column. Means 1 byte is a function of all 4 bytes present in a column. So this is actually diffusion. This is creating diffusion. This is the concept behind diffusion. So I think now it will be more clear with this thing that how AES promotes diffusion. Because for calculating 47, you are going to multiply 02 with 87 plus 03 multiply by 6E, 01 multiply by 46, 01 multiply by A6. This is how you are going to get 47, which is shown over here, because we are going to multiply these two matrices, and this is the way matrix multiplication is performed. But there is one new point over here. You can see that we are not performing simple operations here. Means we are not doing we are not performing simple addition and multiplication operation over here. You can see that multiplication is represented by a dot and addition is represented by XOR operator. So that means simple operations will not be implemented over here. So I tell you what kind of operations we'll use over here. We are going to use GF2 raised to the power 8 operations here. So I think this term is new for all of you. GF2 raised to the power means Galois field 2 raised to the power 8. So we are going to perform all operations using Galois field 2 raised to the power 8. So what is this Galois field? Galois field is another name for finite field arithmetic in mathematics. It is arithmetic in a field containing finite number of elements, as opposed to arithmetic in a field which is having infinite number of the elements, like the field of rational numbers. In case of rational numbers, we are having infinite rational numbers. So that is infinite field arithmetic. But Galois field or finite field arithmetic will be having limited numbers. So we can have operations on limited numbers, and when we get the output, it should be limited within those numbers. It will be restricted to those limited numbers. So the number of elements in a finite field is of the form p raised to power n, where p is a prime number and n is a positive integer. There are numerous finite fields or Galois fields which possess their respective arithmetic operations. But here we are concerned with the specific Galois field 2 raised to the power 8. So I'll be discussing operations only related to GF 2 raised to the power 8. So it will be having only 256 elements. 256 numbers will be there, and I'll be representing, or it is multiplication is represented in this field by a dot, as we have seen in the last slide. And how addition and multiplication is performed, that we'll see. So in GF 2 raised to the power 8, addition is the bitwise XOR operation. Means whenever we need to perform or we need to add two numbers, we will XOR them. Multiplication, how multiplication is performed? It has been shown that whenever you want to multiply a number, so it will be multiplied by 2 in simple form, and then you can extend it to multiply with other numbers. So multiplication of a value by 2 can be implemented as 1 byte left shift. First, in the first step, we are going to perform 1 bit left shift of the number, and in the second step, a conditional bitwise XOR with this particular number. We always use this particular number, and this is conditional bitwise XOR. That means XOR is only and only performed if the leftmost bit of the original value is 1. So let's see practically. So the first numbers which we need to multiply was 87 and 2. So 87 can be written in binary as 10000111. So the first operation in case of multiplication is 1 bit left shift. So after performing 1 bit left shift on this number, we are going to get 00001110. Then second step was conditional bitwise XOR. So we'll see whether the original number is having its leftmost bit as 1 or not. As prior to shift, in the original value, its leftmost bit was 1. So that means we need to perform conditional bitwise XOR with this particular number. So we will XOR this number with this number, which is done over here. So the final answer of multiplication of 87 with 02 is 00010101. So I hope you have understood this point. So this is what we have got after multiplying 02 and 87. The same thing is written over here. Now you can try multiplying the next number, that is 6e with 3. Now we have got how to multiply a number with 2. So how we are going to multiply a number with 3? Let's see. So 6e multiplied by 3 could be written as 6e multiplied by 2 plus 6e multiplied by 1. As in 9 multiplied by 3 could be written as 9 multiplied by 2 plus 9 multiplied by 1. So in the same way I have done that. So in this case, again you will perform the similar sequence of operations to multiply 60 with 2, and 6e multiplied by 1 is again 6e. When you get the answer of these two expressions, just XOR them. After that you need to XOR them and you will get the final answer. So this was about mixed column operation, which is quite complex. Next we come to the last operation of a round, add round key operation. So it is a simpler operation comparative to the all previous operations. In this case, we are going to XOR 128 bits of state array with 128 bits of the round key. So let's say this is your state array, this is your round key. So just XOR corresponding entries, like 47 XOR AC, you will get EB. 37 XOR 77, you will get 40. 94 XOR 66, you will get F2. So in the same way, column wise XOR you are going to perform, and finally you will get the answer. So this is a summarization of all transformations performed in a round. In the first step, we performed substitution byte, which is nothing but a table lookup operation. We have replaced each byte in the state matrix with the corresponding entry in the S box table. Then we got a new state matrix. That new state matrix is given as input to the shift rows operation, where we perform circular left shift on the rows with different positions. Output state matrix is given as input to mixed columns operation, where we have multiplied the state matrix with this constant matrix using GF to raised to power 8. Then this output state matrix is given as input to add round key operation, where this state matrix and the round key are XORed to get the new state. So this is how operations are performed in one round. So this process is to be repeated 10 times if you are having 10 rounds in AES. So that was the number of, so that was the operations we have performed in different rounds. Now we come to the key expansion process. So we are given as input 128-bit cipher key, whereas we require 11 such keys, 1 for initial transformation phase and 10 for 10 rounds. So we'll be calling them as round keys because we'll be requiring keys for each round. So we require 11 round keys. So for getting 11 round keys from one cipher key, key extension process is followed. So first of all, in this case, we are going to write 128-bit cipher key in the form of words. Word is nothing but the combination of 32 bits. A group of 32 bits, you can say. So we are going to break this 128 bits into 4 parts of 32 bits. So this same cipher key is copied as it is for initial transformation phase, and it is divided into 4 words of 32-bit size each. So this is shown over here. This is the whole key, which is having 16 bytes or 128 bits. K0 depicts the first byte, K1 second byte, and so on. K15 as the 16th byte of the initial cipher. So for initial transformation phase, this key, cipher key, is used as it is. There is no change made to this key, only that it is divided into 4 parts. First 4 bytes will comprise W0. The second 4 bytes comprise W1 and so on, W2 and W3. So that means W2 is actually 4 bytes or 32 bits. W1 is another 4 bytes or 32 bits. So these 4 words will be used in initial transformation phase. For all other rounds, we are going to expand these words. So how this is done? Each word WI will be computed by using its immediately preceding word, that is WI minus 1, and the word that is 4 positions back, that is WI minus 4. So let's say we want to compute W5, so it can be computed as immediately preceding word, that is W4, and the word which is 4 position back, that is W1, and we are going to perform XOR over both the words. So this can only be done for all the words which are not a multiple of 4. That is W5, 6, 7, 9, 11 and so on. But to compute a word which is a multiple of 4, such as W4, W8, a complex function is used. So what is that complex function? So this procedure is showing you 2 for loops. This for loop is depicting you how to compute the first 4 words, that is the 4 words of initial transformation phase, which are just a copy of cipher key. So that means the first 4 bytes will become the first word, second 4 bytes will become the second word, and so on. Second for loop depicts you how this key is actually expanded, means how round keys are computed from round number 1 to round number 10. So we have stored immediately preceding word. Let's say we want to compute WI. So its immediately preceding word will be WI minus 1 that we have stored in temp. And then we can see there is a if statement. So this if statement is there to compute words which are multiple of 4. So the words which are multiple of 4 are computed using these three operations: rotation word, substitution word, and XOR with R. If a word is not a multiple of 4, then simply it is XOR operation of WI minus 4 and WI minus 1. Because in that case, this if statement will become false. But if this if statement is true, then we have to perform some transformations on this WI minus 1. So let's see how these transformations are made. So by taking the immediately preceding word, that is WI minus 1, we are going to perform dot word operation on that word, which is just a 1 byte circular left shift operation. On this result, we are going to perform substitute word operation. This is same as byte substitution. That means we are going to replace each byte with the corresponding entry in the S box. Then the result is XORed with a round constant. So what is this round constant? Round constant is a 4 byte word in which 3 rightmost bytes are 0 and the leftmost byte is to be provided by the algorithm. So it could be written as this one, where the last 3 bytes are always 0 and it is to be given by the algorithm, given by a constant table, which is this one. So as shown in this example, we are provided with round key for round number 8. This is the key for round number 8. So that means this is W32, next is W33, W34 and W35. Now let's say we have to compute W36, that means the first word of round key 9. So using previous procedure, I am going to show you how you can compute W36 using the previous round key. This round constant we are going to use over here because we are going to compute the round key for round 9. So this is your W35, which is taken as input, because whatever operations we are going to perform, it should be on the immediately preceding word. So as we are going to compute W36, its immediately preceding word is W35, which we have taken from the round key number 8. So the first operation performed on this is rotation word. Rotation word is we are going to perform 1 byte circular left shift on W35. So we have shifted each byte 1 position back and the first byte is coming to last position. Next operation is substitution word. That means each byte is to be replaced with its corresponding entry in S box as we have done in byte substitution operation. Next is we are going to take round constant, which was 1B as we have seen in the earlier slide. So RCon is written as round constant with zeros as the falling bytes. We are going to XOR these two words. After XOR, we have got this result, which we have to XOR with the word which is 4 position back, that is W32. So after XORing these two words, we are going to get finally W36. So we have analyzed that each round key in AES depends on the previous round key only, but the dependency is non-linear, means that is not the linear function of the previous round key, it is non-linear because of substitute word transformation. Also, the addition of round constants guarantees that each round key will be different from the previous one. It is not like that we are getting round keys similar in each round, or it is a linear function of the previous round key. So they have taken care of this thing. So for your practice, you can analyze this table where it has been shown that this is your initial cipher key and various steps of key expansion has been performed on the initial cipher key to get different round keys. You can practice this one to understand more about key expansion. It has been shown step by step for each round. This is showing you an example encryption over a given plain text. This is your plain text, example plain text, and the different round operations and initial transformation phase. After applying all the steps, how can we get the cipher text? So you can practice this one as well. And the same same cipher key has been used, which has been shown in previous slide. So now, what is the avalanche effect? It is a key desirable property of any encryption algorithm, where we want that if we change one input bit or key bit, that should result in changing approximately half of the bits of ciphertext. So AES exhibits strong avalanche effect. I have also shown you this with an example. So these are the two plain text which differ in their 8th bit only, means only 1 bit difference is there in these two plain text. So after the initial transformation round, 1 bit difference is there, but as you can see, after the first round itself, the state arrays differ in 20 bits, and only after second round they differ in almost half of the bits, that is 58 bits. So after going through all the rounds, we can see that the ciphertext differ in 58 bits. So the desirable property is that with a minor change, with a 1 or 2 bit change, the ciphertext should differ in almost half of the bits. On an average, half of the bits should be different in ciphertext. So that is possessed by AES. Also, the concept of weak keys does not apply to AES. So assume that all the bits in cipher key are zeros. So zeros will be supplied as it is to initial transformation phase. As you can see here, pre-round means initial transformation round. So that is taking round key as all zeros. But after key expansion, we are going to get key for round 1 as this one, where all the words are same. But as we proceed to second round, you can see that only the alternate words are same, not all words are same. So as we keep on proceeding with the key expansion process, we can see that when we reach to the 10th round, the key is totally different from what we have got initially. So that means there is no effect. Even if we take a weak key, it will convert it into a strong key and will give you a ciphertext which is not easy to break. So the last step is decryption. In case of decryption, we are going to perform inverse operation, I should say. So see it as while performing encryption, analyze it while going towards downwards, but for decryption, just observe it from down to up. That means upwards you should see it. So the very first operation is again add round key in case of decryption. Then in round 1, you can see first 2 stages are interchanged and last 2 operations are also interchanged. As you can see, previously we were having substitute byte followed by shift rows, but in case of decryption, we first perform inverse shift rows and then inverse substitution byte. Similar is the case with other 2 operations. We have exchanged the sequence of the operations. Inverse has been written over here because we are going to perform the inverse of the operations which we have performed while doing encryption. Inverse shift rows means we are going to perform circular right shift, and inverse substitution byte means we are going to look up into inverse SBox table. Add round key is same, but the order of keys is different. That means the key which we have used in round number 10, that will be used in round number 1. So that means the sequence or the keys are used in inverse order that we have used in the encryption process. So in case of inverse mixed columns, we are going to multiply the state matrix with the inverse of the constant matrix what we have used in the encryption. I'm going to show you these matrices also. So this is the constant matrix which we are going to use in inverse mixed column transformation, which is the inverse of the constant matrix which we have used in mixed column operation. And this is your inverse SBox table which we are going to use in inverse substitution byte operation. So I hope you have understood what I have explained. So I expect from you to solve this simple problem where I have given you plain text of 16 bytes and key of 16 bytes. You have to show the original contents of state matrix and you have to show the value of state after each operation. So this is an assignment for you. Keep in mind that you have to consider it as A0, means 00 will be your A0, 01 will be your A1, and you have to arrange these contents into the state matrix in column wise format. Because earlier when I have given this problem to the participants, one of the participants just arranged this plain text into the state matrix in row-wise format, which is wrong. We have to arrange this plain text into state matrix in column-wise format. And then you have to perform other operation on this state matrix. Again, key is to be written in column-wise format. So this will definitely give you confidence that you have understood this algorithm well. So I hope this you will go through this assignment. That's it for today.